If you're feeling adventurous, and you're bored with your everyday haunts, and you've dreamed of an area of France that's famous yet completely unknown, then steer a course for Pauillac, a jewel in Medoc's crown, once a merchant port on the majestic Gironde estuary, and drop anchor here at Château Cordeillon-Bagès. And there you'll find your host, Thierry Marx, who, though originally from Ménilmontant near Paris, has slowly but surely made this area his home. Ask him to share the story of his passion for this region with you, but beware, for you too will surely fall under the spell. When I first got here, people said I'd never succeed in Medoc, that it just wasn't possible, that as far as gourmet cooking went, it was a desert, that all that counted here was the wine. It's true, that's the feeling I had when I first arrived. I said to myself, there's a sort of veneration of the vineyard here and nothing else. Good luck. But then after a while, a friend of mine, Franck Dubosc from Medoc, said to me, "Hey, I'm not so sure. You just have to discover a way to assert your identity with what's available in Medoc." And then I discovered the Gironde, the most beautiful river in Europe, and I met people like Bouzine, who taught me to understand the people here, the real people of Medoc, and that got the ball rolling. And I said to myself, I have to unite these people. Here's how to make pork trotter with cèpe mushrooms. We're going to have to make some stuffing with 150 grams of veal, 50 grams of fresh cream, and 1 egg. We'll also need a poached pork trotter, which you can get from the butchers, a few cèpes, some veal dripping, and the veal itself.
L'œuf,
the egg,
la crème fraîche,
the fresh cream,
et l'oignon légèrement
and an onion lightly sweated in butter.
Fait tourner.
We mix the ingredients and we get a very fine stuffing like this.
Now, we're
going to debone the pork trotter. We pull the bone out, spread it out well, open it wide. And then we add the stuffing. And now we'll need some cling film in order to reconstitute the trotter completely. And we have to really roll this extremely tight like this. And now we've completely reconstituted the deboned pork trotter. And now we can poach it in a bouillon, and we'll get a finished product that is much tighter after cooking. We've let the trotter cool in its own juice, and now we can prepare the final phase. I'm going to separate the trotter into 4 different pieces. Now, the final stage of this recipe, before proceeding to dress the plate, is to finish the sauce. To do this, we'll first take off the caps of the cèpes, and we'll be using the stems. We'll use the caps later to decorate the plates. I'm going to fry the mushroom stems, and I'll also add the bones, which we took out of the trotter, and we'll also add a bit of thyme and bay leaf. And now I can add my glass of red wine, and you can see it's caramelizing nicely. And we can deglaze in order to get the benefit of all of the little bits which are so full of flavor of all the ingredients. And now I can add the veal juice. I'm now going to fry ever so lightly the caps of the mushrooms in butter, like this. You see, I've added the butter without melting it. Everything is now cooked. The bones have given off all the juice. as
l'échalote
have
est
the
complètement
diced mushroom
confite,
stems,
le vin rouge est
the
réduit,
shallot is
le jus
completely
de
softened,
bœuf
the red wine has been
fait
reduced, the veal juice
son
has now
office.
done its
Je vais tout
job.
passer
So I'm now
et
going
on
to strain it,
s'aperçoit qu'on a quand même
and as you can
un
see,
jus
what we
très,
have
très,
here
très,
is a
très
very,
sirupeux.
very
Ce
syrupy
jus qui a
juice.
été chinoisé, je vais le verser
The strained
pour
juice
finir
will now be
sur ses
poured
pieds et nous allons
over the pork
pouvoir
trotters,
aussi finir
and now we can finish
nos pieds de cèpe. On
with
va
our
ajouter
cep stems.
un petit peu de jus de nos pieds,
We're going to
On va
add just a
ramener la
bit of
température.
juice.
puis nous allons dresser.
We'll warm it back up to the right temperature, and now we can dress the plate.
Je prends ces têtes de cèpe
I take the mushroom caps,
que je vais placer sur chaque
and I place one
pied.
on each piece of
récupère
the pork trotter,
Ce jus de cuisson de mes pieds
and I use a bit of the
venir
juice from the
juste
cooking
saucer un peu.
just to add a final bit of sauce.
Et nous allons finir
And
le
we
plat
finish off the plate
avec juste
with
un
just
trait
a drop
d'huile de
a
persil.
drop of
C'est important
parsley
parce
oil.
que le persil se
Now this
marie
is important
très, très
because
bien
parsley goes very, very well with
avec
ceps.
le cèpe et
And
un
we add a
petit
little
bouquet garni.
bouquet garni. And there,
Voilà la
you have the
préparation
preparation
et le
and
dressage
presentation of
du
pork
pied de
trotter
porc
with
aux
cep
cèpes,
mushrooms.
prête à déguster. Lui, typiquement médocain, qu'est-ce que la pibale? C'est l'alvin
Glass
d'anguille.
eel is really a
Voilà.
product of the
Comme
Medoc
ceci.
region.
On va les poêler
In case you're
simplement
wondering, glass
avec un peu
eels are
d'huile
simply
d'olive.
young eels, that's all. We're going to
On
fry
va
them
finir avec un peu de
with
persil
nothing
haché
more than a little bit of olive
et
oil,
ensuite
and
une
then
pointe
finish
d'ail.
up
Au
with
dernier
some
moment,
minced parsley
on va
and a touch of
déglacer,
garlic.
c'est-à-dire on va
We'll
ajouter
deglaze
une
at the
pointe
very last minute
de
by
vieux
adding a
vinaigre de
drop of
Xérès.
sherry vinegar.
Pour commencer la
To
préparation,
start this recipe,
j'ai mis
the
préalablement
first
une
thing
poêle à
I've
chauffer
done
en plein
is
feu.
to put a frying pan on
Je vais
high heat,
ajouter mon huile
and now I'll add my olive
d'olive
oil,
comme ceci. On va faire fumer cette
and
huile d'olive,
we'll
c'est
heat
important.
the oil to
que ce
the
soit
point of
très, très, très
smoking.
chaud. Voyez,
It's
c'est
very
parti.
important that
Ça
the oil
chauffe,
be
c'est fort,
very,
on
very
revient.
hot. You see it's starting,
important
it's
de
getting very
saisir.
hot. You
Hop,
can see
ça
it's
change
very
de couleur.
important to fry the
Ça devient tout blanc.
eels quickly.
On les laisse cuire
Okay, they
quelques
change
secondes.
color, they all turn white, and we let them
On
cook
les
for a few seconds.
Répartis un petit peu
We try
harmonieusement
to
dans la poêle.
distribute them evenly
Je
in
vais
the
ajouter
frying pan,
l'ail.
and I'm going to add the
Surtout,
garlic.
surtout,
But above
il est
all,
nécessaire que
it's
l'ail ne
essential
vienne pas
that none of the garlic
toucher le fond de la
comes in
poêle pour
contact with
ne
the
pas
frying pan.
risquer
Otherwise,
donner
we
une
might
pointe
get a
d'amertume.
slightly bitter taste.
Très rapidement,
And very quickly
le
now,
persil.
the
Là, encore une
parsley.
fois, je vais très,
And
très
I'm
vite
going very quickly here
parce
because
qu'il
it's
est nécessaire de
important
pas trop
not to
faire cuire le
overcook
persil,
the
de
parsley
garder tout son
so it
goût
keeps all
et
its
toute sa
flavor
couleur.
and its color.
Une dernière fois en plein
One last
feu,
time on high heat,
je vais ajouter
and I'm going to add a drop,
un trait, vraiment
just
un
the
tout petit trait
smallest drop
de
of sherry
vinaigre de
vinegar,
Xérès, comme
like
ceci.
this.
Très simple.
Very simple.
Voilà.
Voila.
Et c'est prêt. Il y en a
And you see
quelques-unes
it's
qui
ready.
sont légèrement
A
rissolées.
few of them are
Ça sent
slightly
déjà
browned,
très, très,
and they
très
smell
bon.
absolutely
Et on va servir
delicious.
ça avec une
And we're going to
petite
serve this with a
fourchette.
little fork made of wood,
Une petite fourchette en bois
a
ou en
fork of
corde,
wood or bone,
parce qu'il est
because it's
vraiment
really
nécessaire
important
de les
to
manger brûlants.
serve them up
Mon
piping
passage
hot.
chez les compagnons du devoir, ça a été
Entering
d'abord
an apprenticeship
la sortie
school,
de la banlieue.
first of all, meant
C'était,
getting away from the
c'était pas simple.
suburbs of Paris, and
Et
that
c'est des
wasn't
gens
easy.
qui valorisaient le
And the
qui
teachers in the
valorisent
school
le travail
really
manuel.
emphasized the
Donc,
beauty of
bien
manual work.
évidemment, à une époque, on
In
disait
those days,
encore
it
d'apprendre
was
à
still
mixer,
generally
c'était
thought that
pas
learning a
très
trade
glorieux,
wasn't very
parce que
glorious.
c'était un peu l'échec
It just
scolaire.
meant you had
Et
failed at
finalement,
school. But the people at the apprenticeship center helped me to realize that having a trade was something to be really proud of.
c'était une vraie valeur humaine.
A kitchen apron and a kimono. For Thierry, the restaurant trade and the spirit of judo go hand in hand.
Ma vie, ça a été au départ une
When I
suite
think
de
about it,
difficultés,
my life has been a
finalement,
series of
mais
difficulties.
c'est vrai que
But with
dans le
judo
dans le
and
sport en
sports in
général,
general,
j'ai
I could always
puisé
find and draw on the idea of
l'essentiel de
perseverance.
recommencement, quoi. Ouais, dans ce sport, c'est
Judo
ça,
is a
c'est
very
le mental,
mental
c'est,
sport, and you're
toujours
always
s'en mettre en
taking
question,
stock,
cette volonté
and you
de
have to be
toujours
willing
avoir
to
la
play the
pratique,
role of apprentice, learning,
l'art de tomber
learning how
et
to
l'art de
fall
savoir
down
relever.
and how to pick yourself
Parce
up
que
again,
c'est aussi important.
because that's just as
Chaque fois
important.
faire surface, c'est
Getting back on your feet again is really hard sometimes. But the fact that I started doing judo when I was 6 years old always left me a way to renew my thoughts, to come back to the basics of life. And life is an eternal beginning after all. It's cyclical. And at the end of each cycle, you have to be able to start and go ahead again. I think when you're involved in a sport like judo, there's always a tendency towards discipline and order, but also towards reflection. And my cooking is based upon that. It's based on reflection, on the harmony of people, the harmony of groups. This is lamb, and here you have some beef. In Medoc, the most important cut is rib steak. Rib steak. And the lamb chops from Pauillac. Pauillac lamb, once again, is a very high-quality product, tender and delicious, which would almost suffice in itself, because these lambs are slaughtered at 75 days, which means they've never grazed. They've been raised exclusively on their mother's milk. But in addition, it was these lambs from transhuman herds that vineyard owners here in Medoc allowed the shepherds to bring in to graze in their vineyards, which produce vintage wines. We wanted to bring together two traditions in preparing a recipe for lamb. First of all, Pauillac is an old port city, which used to play an important role in the spice trade. And so we brought together vineyard-fed Pauillac lamb and spices from that spice trade. To do this, we need a loin of lamb, 4 chops, and for the recipe we'll need an egg, brown breadcrumbs made from toasted bread, some caraway, cinnamon, fresh coriander, chervil, a bit of garlic, and a few of what the French call vine leeks. We've already begun by finely chopping the herbs, and now we'll salt and pepper the loin and start off the cooking. We start on the skin side, and we add a little sprig of thyme, just to add a little bit of flavor. And while the loin is browning, we can start making the mixture. Breadcrumbs, herbs, garlic, and caraway. We mix them all together, like so. And there, the whole thing gives off an incredible aroma. We've already beaten an egg, and we're going to use that to coat the loin a little and help the herb breading stick to the meat.
Voilà. Comme ceci.
Like so.
Je vais sortir mon carré.
And so now I'll take out the loin, which hasn't finished cooking, of course.
Ceci.
And I'm going to coat it with egg like this, very simply and evenly.
Voilà. Et je viens le poser.
And I put it down like this.
Je viens garnir complètement. Il faut que ça recouvre complètement.
Cover it completely with the breading. It has to completely cover the fat on the loin.
On replace dans la sauteuse.
And we hold it in place like this, and then put it back in the frying pan, and then we add a little aromatic garnish, little vine leeks, tomatoes, a turnip, and then we'll let it continue cooking in the oven.
Donc là, le carré est cuit.
So the loin is cooked now, and the vegetables are completely cooked as well. And so I'll put the vegetables on the plate.
Je vais placer mon carré d'agneau.
And now I'll arrange the lamb loin like this. And we'll add a little bit of the juice, which we'll pour all over the vegetables.
Manger ces légumes. Voilà le carré d'agneau.
You have spiced loin of lamb with lamb from Pauillac, of course. With the loin of lamb, I suggest you try a Lynch Badger's 88. Well then, we're going to dine at Jean-Paul's. You'll see it's a really great restaurant. Hello, pleased to meet you. I hope you write better than I do. I'm not very good at hieroglyphs. What would you like? It's clearly at the Lion d'Or, where the little nothings that are the key to his well-being abound, that this friend of the natives of Medoc finally unveils his brightly coloured tribe. Let me introduce a painter friend of mine, Jean-Claude Deguet, who's already a real name in painting circles, and Walter Nock, a sculptor whose work I really admire. He's done some extraordinary thing with marbles, and has had some fine exhibitions. These are people I really like a lot, and I love getting together with them at Jean-Paul Barbier's place, among other things because Jean-Paul Barbier and I are in the same line of work, and so here we are. So we're here because, as I was saying at the table earlier, we're people who are filled with doubt. We live in doubt. So every time we do something, we wonder if people are going to like it. You saw earlier, we tried something new. I showed it to Jean-Paul. We make up a plate or a new dessert. You wonder about the shape, the taste, or this or that aspect of it. We live in doubt. This kind of doubt we have all the time. Hey, I'd like to show you something. I've tried something new here, Jean-Paul, and I'd like your opinion. It's something really fun. I made a badianier cream, a very small badianier cream. I boil down badianier sauce, really. Then I thicken it with a crème chantilly, a whipped cream rather, but unsweetened. So I'll add the whipped cream to the badianier, set it on top, giving the whole thing a bit of design like this, and then a little bit of basil sorbet and some of this basil puree. Here, taste it with the eggplant. Break off a bit. It's unsweetened. People don't think I should use eggplant. They say it brings out the tannins in the wine or whatever. But this recipe avoids that problem, since there's no sugar in it. Or you could serve it with white wine. People aren't used to such delicacies in my restaurant. Come on, taste it. Taste it with a sorbet. Here you find people who are authentic. I try to avoid things that are superficial. As time goes on, I get older, just like everybody. And now I run away from things that are superficial, and I like to find things that are real. We've managed to get a 2-star rating in just 2 years. They said it was impossible, but we did it here. Medoc was a gourmet wasteland, but we did it. We came here, and thanks to Jean-Michel Cazès, we got 2 stars. Proof that you can make something out of nothing if you only know how to listen.